The focus of this article is a case study analysis of the development of public sector financial and management control systems in Romania. The notion of financial management and control has been institutionalized in Romania since 1864. By control, the authors refer to a monitoring action or a verification. In a broader sense, control is seen as a process. There is always an interdependence between management and control. Control makes sense only if the resources are managed. In addition, it is often impossible to manage without control. The point is crucial because it helps to understand the nature of process management and the control procedure's role in this process. Information is always imperfect, and a manager's ability is limited. Other actors also are influencing the environment in ways that may further limit the degree of control. Therefore, it is possible and often likely that the results will differ from the goals. It is useful and necessary to regularly measure the gap between forecasts or goals and the outcomes or achievements. Controls allow for this, and we will examine these controls within the context of Romanian development. Management controls first developed in large companies in North America dating back to the 1930s to meet a specific need of a large decentralized organization and as a way to control the numbers. Gradually, conventional standards and budgetary control procedures were implemented to control costs. In France, the introduction of management control techniques began to accelerate in the 1950s. Private organizations developed management control systems devices to measure their performance. But in public organizations, these systems have a different role. Historically, control systems are related to accountability and the insistence on one essential aspect of public management, compliance with legal rules. Gradually, a new objective has been added to control systems related to regularity controls to assess the effectiveness of public management. New control techniques resulted from imperfections in the budgetary system and the lack of information in public accountability. In France, the management control approach in public institutions led to department-level development plans and management control systems by setting up resource centers dedicated to management controls. Management control of government departments have specific characteristics because they largely relate to services that are distinct from industrial activities. Management efficiency analysis assumes that there are references, including history, to use as a standard measure to judge the effectiveness of control systems. When there is not a history of control systems measures, which is the case when systems are implemented for the first time, such as occurred in Romania at different times, it may be difficult to establish measures of success. Looking at the international context, the authors can say that there have been structural changes in public sector financial and management controls, with performance being one of the important objectives of these new structures. However, the authors wish to look if there is a history regarding management control techniques in the Romanian public sector. At a public entity level, outside of the forms of control which are formalized, for which there are long-term plans, annual budgets, procedures for implementation of basic operations, a service of internal controls, etc., there are several factors that influence decisions and actions such as education, national culture, religion, experience, personality traits, memberships in a social or professional category, and other factors that determine the existence of an invisible control. Regulations. In Romania, as in elsewhere, public sector regulations represent the favorite mode of management. Historically, they are the concern of the central government. By their nature, they depersonalize the authority, which no longer occurs as individuals, but as known rules. This eliminates some confrontation, at least in theory. Decisions are considered autonomous, not made by people, but by the system. As an institution, employees cannot live and work in a climate of confrontation. The periodic updating of those rules serves to maintain for a certain period of time a peaceful climate. The rules in the system in this context guarantee peace, at least temporarily. A significant historical landmark in Romanian history is the year 1864, when, by approving the law on general accounting, there is established a financial and management control of state revenues and expenditures. Since that time, the control was organized on the principles of separation of powers, with controls exercised by the legislature, or Chamber of Deputies. There is control of the executive, or the administrative control, and review by the High Court of Auditors. By control of public finance management by the courts of auditors, the aim was to make sure that public finances were managed lawfully, fairly, and systematically to meet the general interests of the state. In 1929, the court was reorganized. Under new law established in accordance with the Constitution of 1923, there were produced important innovations in the control of public finances, aiming notably at court officials. The emergence of this normative act was based on the principle that preventative control is exercised by non-specialized personnel units. Under this law, financial control is carried out by the High Court of Auditors. They are the supreme body that oversees council, who are controllers that operate within each entity to manage and use public monies. After 1944, when the former Soviet Union occupied Romania and installed a Soviet-style government, the financial accounting control systems, exercised both at the state level and at the trader level, took other forms, typically determined by the political conditions at the time. The period from 1950 to 1972 is characterized by improvements in financial control organization and operations. In 1973, through the Superior Court Law No. 2, there was established the financial control body of the State Council of the Socialist Republic of Romania. It had as its main objective the implementation of a single national plan of social and economic development and the use of credit and financial levers for economic management. This institution was functioned until December 1989, when it was disbanded following the revolution and overthrow and eventual execution of Nicolae Ceausescu. After 1989, financial and accounting controls gained new importance with the development of a market-based economy and the transition to democratic rule. New control structures were established, with targets generated by the transition to a market economy. Because by 1990, the Romanian public sector control systems were highly centralized and included a well-structured and large organizational network covering practically all fields. This was a result of the Soviet-style government of the previous generations. After 1990, the effects of a transition from a centralized economy to a market economy were felt in the system of financial controls, and it led to efforts for strong decentralization. Control units were reduced substantially in some sectors, and in some they were virtually abolished. In 1992, By 1992, it was found, in fact, that the Romanian society still needed a stronger control of the state economy. Decentralization occurred too quickly and too broadly to be effective. Consequently, in 1992, through a special law, a court of auditors was established. This measure was included in the 1991 Constitution of Romania. The Court of Auditor was defined as the supreme body of control and jurisdiction in the financial and execution control regarding the formative management and use of financial resources of the state. Today, the Romanian public sector operates through rules and procedures, including several types of controls, and pursues appropriate strategies under the existence of these control systems. See Table 1 for a diagram. Examining the development of financial and management controls in a relatively new market-based democratic system is a useful exercise. As the country transitioned from a highly centralized and highly controlled economy to a Western-style market economy, public sector controls also transitioned to meet the new challenges of democracy. This analysis of the historical development of financial and management controls in the Romanian public sector shows that over time, these control systems have become institutionalized. As they transition from centralization to decentralization, that transition can often be hectic and bumpy. Once you complete all the readings and all the lectures, you may complete the assignments.